I'd like to call the Merit System Commission to order. It is August 1st, 2024, 11 o'clock a.m. Call to order, please.
Mr. Kempe?
Here.
Mr. Rodehaver?
Here.
Mrs. Wasty?
Here. Did everyone get a chance to go over the minutes? Any additions, deletions, changes? As they are. First item of business, proposed change of practice, hiring process. And Chief, what can you tell us?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning, sir.
So the last couple of meetings, we'd all kind of brainstormed about what we could do to quicken the process. And I got with Martina. We had some conversations and then some back and forth in emails. And I think the emails are attached. And what I did was I asked her 4 questions. Can we run an ad until, with the end date of, until filled? And her answer was yes, as long as we abide by the 3-week advertisement rule, and then we could just kind of run with it. So, second one was, could we run ads for entry level and lateral entry at the same time? And she said we could do that if we got rid of the word emergency in the lateral entry. That we could run them at the same time, and we could run them also until filled. We have been in a constant cycle of entry-level lateral entry, and I probably, even without this discussion, would probably suggest getting rid of the emergency clause anyways, because it's just a constant cycle. It's no longer just I guess it's a constant emergency, or I won't use the word crisis, but we're constantly doing this. So getting rid of the word emergency was her idea. The next up was, does it have to be a written test? And the ORC that we quote in our Merit Service Commission rules lists what it can be, and it can be any number of things. It can be a written test, but it can also be a performance evaluation, like a physical skills test. It could be an oral interview that's scored and weighted, and it could be just experience and competency ratings. So she suggested, and she put it in the email, to actually list those things out, not only refer to the ORC, but to list those things out in our rules, and she did that. And then the fourth thing was, if we start this practice of we're going to advertise continually, and then we're going to get the applications, and we would like to use a method of a scored oral interview. And then once a month, we would get you the lists of applicants, what they scored and what their status is, and then you could certify them as we continually run through the process. And she said that we would need no changes to do that. So my suggestion would be to those things, get rid of the word emergency and the references to emergency in the lateral entry process, and then include the language that she suggested, the 1, 2, and 3, and 4, the bolds about written exams, performance, oral, and experience. And then we'll kind of change up the practice and see how it goes. So this does affect all the departments. A department head can still choose to have whatever process they want. If they want to continue to have the written exam and then the steps, they can do that. This just gives us the option of a scored interview as the first step, and then we can immediately start the background check on them, kind of thing. Because as it stands right now, we get a written test, and we get the names, and after the board interview, the panel interview, they kind of flip anyways, because we score them based on knowledge, skills, abilities, and how they presented themselves and how they spoke, kind of thing. So I'll answer any questions.
Steve, looking at the 1, 2, 3, 4 for the various types of examinations. First 3 I understand pretty well. We've got existing structures like that. Number 4 there seems to be a formal slot for providing measured evaluation of certificates, OPATA or these, is my understanding correct there, that that's for bonus points and certifications and veteran status and so on?
I think what we now give bonus points for would fall into that category, yeah. And we could still give bonus points, right, on a if someone fills out an application and we want to do a panel interview, a board interview, and they get scored, we would still add in there, if we want to do that, we still add in their bonus points.
Can you see, or do you think it's reasonable for us to be accepting applicants in that have had none of the first three for original appointment positions? I assume these are entry positions. Would it be reasonable for us to accept candidates that had no testing, no performance evaluation?
Yeah, because so you get a kid that's going to the academy or just out of the academy. They don't really have any experience. So we would invite them in and do the panel interview, the scored interview. I can tell you that our board did some interviews yesterday, and two of the candidates were the highest scoring that we'd seen in months, and they had zero law enforcement experience.
Right, but you would actually have some sort of oral examination.
It was the interview is scored.
I'm concerned about saying that we don't need any of those first three. We'll just rank based on this and not talk to them.
For entry level, I would say you would need at least one of the first three. If you're hiring someone higher up in a command structure or someone that needs to run a bulldozer tomorrow, we would, the street department could format their number 4 to, forklift certification or bulldozer certification or whatever. I think it just gives us some options. I don't think it necessitates having all 4 or any one of the 4. Just gives us options. I understand your question, right?
Well, you asked the question.
I think what you're
You
asking.
give me an example.
You understand my concern?
Yeah, I think I'm following your train of thought. What Jim is saying, well, what I'm hearing you say is that when somebody fills out an application and they're brand new, you're not just going to look at the items in number 4.
No.
You're going to call them in, talk to them, and put them in front of your board. And then the 3 board members will score him, and that will be his score.
Yep.
I understand the process we'd like to see, but the words say here, any one or more of the following 4. I recognize that that's not the goal to do it that way. I just want to make sure that we've actually had some interaction with a candidate before we.
Yeah, so I couldn't imagine hiring somebody without interviewing them. Yeah, I mean, you're right. And then I think 4 would deal with technical stuff like the street department, or at one point we had a water park, right, and we needed to have chemical certifications for water park, water, that kind of thing. If we're hiring somebody, I could see where number 4 would come into play.
You definitely need.
But I couldn't imagine. Yeah, I couldn't imagine hiring somebody without actually interviewing them.
Number 4.
Right. Especially entry level. So
That
it,
would
the way she worded it, it didn't give me any heartburn because I guess we have an idea in our head how we want it to flow. So
Well, idea in head and what's stated on paper can be 2 different things.
I guess that would fall into play though if someone just got out of the academy. Would we put them ahead of someone who didn't have the police academy? That's a certification, competency rating.
Yeah, but regardless, you're going to have an interview.
We are, yeah,
And score
absolutely.
them.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Just across the board, they're going to have an interview.
That's what I want to make sure.
Yeah. No issues.
You have to have an interview.
Worded right now.
Maybe we should look at the wording.
That's all I'm bringing. I'm not suggesting wording. I'm bringing up a concern that I have, and I'm sure we'll address it.
Because I'm thinking something in here should state, everything starts with an interview.
I think application, right? We would start everything with an application to list the knowledge, skills, and abilities.
Correct.
And then it would be up to, and some of the departments don't have to change the way they're doing things, but I guess I keep going back to the street department because they have dozens of CDL this, CDL A, CDL B, forklift this, the chemicals that they spray on the salt. Those are all kind of certifications, and I could see where they would maybe want to use number 4 first and then interview people.
Sure, those are gatekeeper items there.
Yeah.
If you don't have it, we can't.
We don't even want to talk to you.
And I think that's all that means. And that's straight out of the ORC. That language is straight out of the ORC. So I guess I didn't think of it being the only thing. I can never imagine it being the only thing.
Okay.
I would hope not.
But,
I'm sure it's gonna work.
and then again, there was no changes needed if we just wanted to get you the list and the status, because it's going to be this ongoing process, months and months and months, so.
Okay. So we will have to change the wording, and I'm looking at this, and it appears Martina has it in a format that we could automatically do a reading today.
You can. I just have a couple questions.
Okay?
We need to nail down on the rules. Great. As far as practice and being put into place, that what I do on my end, what Aaron has to do in advertising and all of that, I just want to make sure everybody's on the same page. When we have an advertisement, it will still come before the board for the board to approve.
Correct.
Will that be correct? Okay. And then I'm assuming what will happen when we have a list, a monthly list, that Chief will provide to include in the packet? Okay, to include in the packet as far as listing of names, type of test or interview or whatever, and then by that time the month has rolled by, there might be some that have been disqualified. There might be some that are in process of, in the second phase of the process or whatever. We need to have that outlined and clearly listed so that you can certify that list.
Yes.
Because not all of the time, I don't get all of the time we've disqualified these people. So I just want to make sure that we're keeping track of that. So if somebody comes back and says, well, I applied and I didn't hear anything or whatever.
We
but-
could give you like the name, method of testing, their score, and their current status as of whatever, the Friday before the meeting, or,
Yes.
Plus,
Yeah.
and if you dismiss one, we don't have to know the reason.
we
We
could,
just have to write something and have
Yeah.
Amy put it in with that particular group of advertisements.
we usually give Amy a generic,
Yeah,
yeah. Yep, status or.
that has to
yep.
still go on,
Yep,
so that they can't come back and say, well, he didn't like me, so he
agreed,
didn't
yeah,
hire me.
right.
And I know as far as the advertisement goes, I know you talked to Aaron about it can't be like an until filled, indefinite type thing. It was a set 3-month, 6-month or whatever.
Right, so if we wrote in the ad until filled, what Aaron would technically do would make it like a 3-month or a 6-month application process, close it for a few hours, then open it again, is what he'd have to do, I think is on his end, is what he wanted to do for his housekeeping stuff. Because it can't just be a continuous kind of thing.
Right. And in the
So-
meantime, if there's been a change to the position or a change in the pay, will we have to, bring that back to MSC for them to approve the new ad as far as,
Yeah,
You
if
know.
there's any changes in the ad, yeah, we would have to approve it.
So the pay range would, probably wouldn't change, but every maybe 3 years. And like right now, we're going through some contract negotiation stuff, so the pay rate probably wouldn't be right this month, but maybe right next month, and
COLA wouldn't affect that?
not on a collective bargaining agreement.
Okay. Did you have anything on your end? I just want to make sure.
And really on the advertising piece too, if we're going to do the 3 weeks, great, well, that's going to be in 3 weeks for the pay
it's not gonna be,
So our merit service rules are written so that it has to go in the paper, but no one reads the paper anymore. So they're getting, youngsters don't read the paper anymore. They're getting most of their information from police-related websites or Monster or Indeed. And I know when you advertise, it triggers the Monster and the Indeed and stuff. And I'm not opposed to that, but the fact that it's in an ink and paper on a Sunday isn't really a big deal anymore to us. But it's written that way in the rules, so we keep running with it. And it does help because it triggers other websites. It pops into other websites.
and
So
who knows, grandma and grandpa will read it and say, hey, Joey wants to be or a policeman,
could be.
call him up. Running it for 6 months seems an awful long time. I kind of agree with Aaron that it should, 3 months, re-advertise, shut it down for a couple days, re-advertise, so that it keeps popping up on Monster and police websites.
Okay. Do you?
Yeah. As long as nothing changes in the ad.
If the pay or any circumstances change, we would bring it back to the commission. If it was just status quo, keep running with it, then I would assume we just kill it for the day and relist it then. And 3 months, I think, is a good time range. Fire have any issues? I'm sorry. I'm being selfish. This is all for the police
Yes.
department.
The fire department's gonna use the same format, correct? Okay, it's just, maintenance, street workers. Theirs can be a little different.
Anybody can keep doing what they've been doing. And we can go back when we start getting, applications, dozens and dozens instead of 2 or 4. We can go back to written tests to weed people out. But
Yeah.
as it stands right now,
Well, my next question would be, are we doing this as a trial where, okay, we're gonna do these first 3 months and see what response we get and then hold off? Or are we gonna do like what you just said, the 3 months, kill it for a couple days and then bring it back? I
guess it would depend on if we have positions still open.
okay,
And I can come back, and I would be more than happy to come back.
okay.
So like next month, if we could get the first or the second reading or whatever, I think we'll probably have a need next time we meet for a process. So
Okay,
Okay, so if we do the first reading today and the second reading in September, were you still planning to do like PHQ in-house?
we'll do it in-house. So we have what NTN does, we have on paper.
Will that be enough time for us on our end to get everything compiled and input into the site to Aaron?
We've been giving it to them because it is lengthy. We've been giving it to them and letting them take it home and complete it.
Okay,
If you want it electronic at all, I mean, the reason I ask is just because it's easier to handle the paper. If you want it electronic, you can do that.
I think we have a PDF version already that we've been handing out, I think. I don't think it should be part of the application. I think the application should be simple, sweet, short, and simple online, and then let us deal with everything at the panel interview, maybe.
Sure. Like you can have a QR code that scan it, it pulls up, and there's the application. I'm just thinking of it like on the back end. Are you gonna have a stack of PHQs, right?
It'll be a short stack. It'll be a short stack.
positive thinking.
Is it easy for you to go through the records that way because they're not searchable? Versus you have to physically look at that, that's all I'm saying.
Yeah. We may do that. We may do that.
You get them now electronically, right?
From,
Through NTN.
yes, yep. But so the lateral process, we don't. We hand out paper.
Physically hand them over.
We hand out paper copies and we give them a week to get them back to us.
Okay.
So, and I think it is PDF.
And you don't have issue with them returning it?
No.
Okay.
Some people aren't interested, right?
Right.
So some people show up and do the application and maybe show up to the first interview. Then when we start asking the hard
They
questions,
forget it, yeah.
they don't want to work here. So it's a lot of times sometimes it just weeds people out immediately. So I wouldn't do it wouldn't do it on the front end. I would do it after the first step or second step. So
This all coincides with the conditional offer that you were talking about earlier, last meeting.
conditional offer, yep. So doesn't really matter when we give the conditional offer because they still have to complete all the same steps.
Correct.
Just a matter of what order we give the conditional offer in. So kicked it around with Mr. Davis and giving them the conditional offer after the panel interview, the scored panel interview, and an immediate background. Make sure that they're not a serial killer, they're not wanted in another state. Giving them a conditional offer sooner, maybe before right now it's after the first polygraph. Maybe trying to give it to them before the first polygraph. And what that does is if we're competing against another agency, we would get them on the hook sooner and get them interested in us sooner, and then let us hire them sooner. So, and I think the fire department does both polygraphs at the same time, right? Yeah, so they do the conditional offer the way we're going to start doing it. We'll just give it to them a little earlier, not a lot earlier, just a little earlier. So
Thank
they
you, sir.
they still have to go through the psych, they still have to go through the physical, they still have to go do 2 polygraphs, and it's just a matter of what steps. So, and there's departments around us that just started doing this. So
I think it's great you're getting ahead of the curve.
So we're still looking at hiring 3?
4, I think,
4.
right now.
Okay. And how many retirements do we have coming up?
At least 1 next January.
Which is less than 6 months away.
And it'll be a sergeant position, so we'll have to shuffle people around and do a process. And
Have to do a test. Okay.
Are you still going through the current entry level?
we are
list?
still going through the current entry-level list, yep. So,
Because with him retiring, is he leaving in January? Do you want somebody in place for when he leaves?
because of the table of organization, we can't hire somebody ahead of time. So we may try to start doing the testing
That's what I was
this
wondering.
fall, in the next couple months. But
Because, with the holidays in there, it kind of crunches
right.
on getting a test done. So I didn't know if you might be looking at that in October.
We've started taking some of his workload away. He was in the detective section, and he's assigned to another detail now. So replacing him right at the day he retires isn't going to be a critical issue for us. But
Do you have anybody in-house eligible?
yes. The last sergeant's test, though, we only had 1 person sign up, so we'll have to. That list is done, I assume. It's killed, so would have to do another. Even though it's been under the year, we would have to do another process. So.
Okay.
I
Any
have no further questions.
I don't either. Jim? Okay, thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your help. Really appreciate this.
Okay. So I think at this point, it would be good to go and do the first reading so that we can get this process underway. So this would take over, okay. I'm comparing it with what's here.
So, section
Section
4,
4 here.
we're just removing the only when an emergency situation portion. Is that correct?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
So it would read, the lateral entry process may be applied to the classified positions of fire lieutenant and police sergeant.
She might have left one out. There might be another section. So this would just be entry-level patrol officer.
It's not lateral. Okay, yeah, I see it. The lateral entry process may be applied to the classified position of fire lieutenant and police sergeant. I don't think it is changed.
I didn't see any changes, chief.
Are we going to need to make an adjustment? Third paragraph, which talks about authorizing the lateral entry process.
Well, we always authorize the advertisement.
In the first paragraph, it talks about the process may be applied only when an emergency situation is deemed to exist.
Right.
And then in the third paragraph, it says prior to authorizing a process, right, which we just said in paragraph 1, is only when an emergency. Okay, prior to authorizing that, they consider modifying blah, 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 in-house candidates. Great. What I'm concerned about is there some sort of trigger mechanism for the lateral entry process? Either one that we're removing because we're no longer going to declare an emergency situation, right? Or because we have some other means by which we start the lateral entry process. Currently, it started because we declared a shortage and emergency. How is it going to happen once the change takes place?
So section 1, I don't think, is what we would be concerned with. I don't think it needs a change because there is no emergency clause in section 1 about.
No, I'm asking
No,
is
what we're
section
saying, okay.
4.
And then what triggers the emergency clause, or what triggers the lateral?
Right, currently it's triggered by this emergency situation being deemed by the commission, et cetera.
And we want to get rid of
If we
the,
remove that language, how is the lateral entry process initiated?
so I think we have, it would just be a continuous effort. So there is no more triggering. There is no issue that triggers. We would hire both entry level and laterals at the same time because we're getting these pools of candidates. Some of them are brand new, want to go to the police academy, just out of the police academy. Some are older that have had jobs other places and want to move into this area or switch departments. I think it would just be a continuous concerted effort to hire both.
This section he's referring to is the lieutenant or sergeant.
So if there were no available positions, if there were no one available to take the test, no one eligible to take the test for a sergeant or lieutenant, and then, or if there was an opening and no one signed up, is what we determined in the past, I believe, for the emergency clause for section 4 was if there was no one eligible or if there was people that were eligible that did not sign up to take the test, did not apply, and that would trigger.
I agree and I understand the two paths and the lateral, and I want to make sure it happens, but I don't want to get us into a bind where we've taken out the language that started it.
Nope.
And
So I think section 1 and section 4 both need to stay as they are. So section 1 doesn't have any issue with emergency. Section 4, we wouldn't want to just jump and do a lateral unless it was necessary.
She's saying that part needs to stay in.
I think it needs to stay. I think Martina was wrong. I'm sorry. I think she was incorrect. I think she and I may have been talking or about two different things. If we want to wait, I can get her. I can hit her again.
Because she's referring only to the lieutenant and sergeant.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think she was incorrect. I think she maybe wasn't clear with her. Maybe I think she's wrong. I think that's wrong.
This is kind of, if you're going to be doing entry and lateral hiring at the same time, isn't there any way we can just kind of combine it and?
So I will tell you.
I know we want to get new people in who just get out of the academy or out of college or whatever. But on the other hand, what will make you go more towards lateral? versus having, I mean, if
I
you're
think-
going to do these job fairs and give these people that fill out an application an offer, if everything goes well, what's going to make it, you want to go to the lateral?
I think we'll, they,
So we had that same problem with the parking rec, right? You can be a rec monitor, be a rec, front desk representative. There are two entirely different positions that they have to apply for which one that they want to apply. They can apply for both of them, and then the department can decide which one they feel fits better need. But they are two clear-cut positions that they have to apply for, so they have to submit an application for both because of the way the process is run. And as we transition to our new time clock software, it's gonna be more critical that each position is within its own application process.
But they're competing for the exact same position.
I think there's so few applicants that it's not going to matter. I think at the end of the month, if we advertise for a month, we start doing the panel interviews. I think the best thing to do would be to keep them separate, but they'll be they're going to be scored on the same interview.
Okay.
They would be scored the same, and we would choose the best candidate at that point. At the end of the month, before we send you the list we would choose the best candidates and how they ranked to continue on.
Okay.
But I think it's still important to keep both processes open and not combine them.
But what's going to keep, not combine them, but what is going to keep from leaning more towards, man, this guy's got experience. Do I really want a kid that's still wet behind the ears? You know, let's just keep pulling in these lateral entries and blowing off any entry level.
I don't think we're going to get as many applications that's going to be an issue.
Okay.
I think we're going to get a handful, and we weed through, the background weeds through over half almost immediately. So we would just score them and keep moving through them.
'Cause I just think it's important to keep bringing in the youth,
I agree.
and experience is wonderful.
I agree.
Okay.
That's the way I got here. I agree.
Youthfulness,
I'm sorry?
youthfulness.
Just once.
Once.
Yep. I think Miss Wasty was on my Merit Service Commission back then.
I think I was too. How long have you been here?
30 years?
I started.
Must have been another Mary Wasty.
No, I started in 90.
So, I can, if you want to wait, I can get with Martina, make sure that.
I would feel
I think
better.
I think we're confused, but I don't think Section 1 needs changed. I don't think Section 4 needs changed,
Okay.
so.
And if Martina gets that done, is there any issue of having an impromptu meeting between now and the next one?
Absolutely not.
I'll be happy to attend.
Okay, so just give us a call, see what we can set up. We'll be happy to get this going.
I'll get with her today.
Because if we can get together within the next 2 weeks and do the first reading, our next meeting, we can still do the second reading, and we can get this going for you.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you.
You're welcome.
Hey, Chief.
Thank you.
Any other business? Meeting adjourned at 11:34.